long term, I'm very, very bullish on Ethereum. Um, and but I would say long term, I'm very, very bullish on Ethereum. Um, and but I would say, like, to your point about consensus trades, like, sometimes you get like this trade on Wall Street, like everyone's doing, right? Like a few years ago, I remember there was like this Argentinian bond trade that everyone was doing, and the trade blew up, and some people lost many, many hundreds of millions of dollars in it. And if you look at this trade, I mean, it has less blow up risk. Like it's not like the Argentinian bond market, but I think you can lose money on it, right? Like if you buy a ton of ETH, expecting that the merge is going to happen soon, that trade can go wrong a couple of ways, right? One is the merge can get delayed. And on this, like, I remember Ethereum 1.0 is launched, and I remember, like, if you look at the way people announce stuff from a developer standpoint, when people say something's going to ship around X month, it never ships that month. When people finally put like a deadline on it and say like it's going to ship like August 23rd, or at whatever block height, whatever block number is the equivalent of August 23rd at midnight, then like it actually happens, right? And so far that hasn't happened yet for the merge. So my view is that, like, until we have that hard deadline, it's just going to continue to get delayed. And with the first version of Ethereum, there was actually this prediction market, I forget the name of it, that I bet on when it would launch. And I got very good odds on it because no one believed it would actually launch. But I was like, no, like this time they actually put a deadline, so it's actually going to ship at that date. And here, I think the merge may just continue to get delayed a bit. I do think it's going to ship relatively soon, but whether it's August or September, October, November, December, or January, is anybody's guess. So I think that's the first way it can go wrong. And the second way it can go wrong is just everyone's already bought, right? Like I've met a lot of people who, to your point, say like, I put on this trade because the merge is going to happen. I haven't met anyone who's been like, I'm waiting to put this trade on because the merge is going to happen. And so right now, actually, we're very heavy in Bitcoin relative to ETH. We don't do that very often, but I think this time, like, it actually makes sense. And my view is that, like, there's going to be a ton of positive price action right around when the merge happens and after, and maybe even after we get like a final date that's announced. But I think until then, ETH BTC maybe just goes down, or it just stays flat and kind of chops around here. Like, I don't really see the bull case for why like ETH BTC can double on a relative basis pre-merge. The people who are believers have already bought, and the people who don't believe won't believe that it makes sense until they see it in practice. It's kind of my take on that trade.
Another way it could go wrong, and maybe that has a super small probability, is for there to be a glitch. I mean, it's the largest smart contract platform on earth, that runs all the time, and we've never had it kind of like a life experiment moving from proof of work to proof of stake. So I'm sure they've tested it many and many times, but you just never know. I mean, this is software. Some stuff could go wrong. And then lastly, I think, and this is just my perception, when I speak to people, a lot of people think that, the merge is going to, create a better Ethereum, like, a faster, higher velocity, higher throughput, more cost efficient type of Ethereum. Long term, like you say, there are many reasons to be bullish on Ethereum because, with sharding and, other type of upgrades, it will become faster. But what we're doing with the merge is moving from proof of work to proof of stake. That is, I mean, there's some other things, but that's the big thing. So there's a risk of being disappointed if you're holding a long position that, not that much has really changed. I mean, it's a little bit more ESG friendly, a little bit greener because, it doesn't, use all that electricity, but that's kind of it for the time being.
Yeah, I think like the hard fork after the merge, I forget what they call it. They used to call it like, phase 1.5 or something. I don't know. The naming scheme has changed so many times. But basically, there's a hard fork that adds in a bunch of stuff that makes it really easy to do, like scalable layer 2 kind of roll-up solutions. And like that, I think, is actually a bigger event than the merge. It'll happen after the merge. I don't know how long after. But that's what actually enables all the scalability stuff that a lot of people associate with the merge. And I think it's just because people haven't followed it. Because if you roll back the clock 2 or 3 years ago, ETH 2.0, when it launched, was supposed to have like sharding and all this stuff. And now the scope has gotten narrowed, which I think is a smart thing to do from a software engineering standpoint. But to your point, I don't think all the public perception has quite like understood that. And so, yeah, I think an actually bigger event is what comes after the merge, where you enable this stuff that enables a lot more scalability.
I mean, let's try to look forward to that point after the merge when, let's say, sharding is in place and you really have a higher throughput, higher velocity, more efficient Ethereum blockchain. I mean, it is the largest smart contract platform today. It has the largest developer community, so why would it not? I mean, is there a case to be made that Ethereum could actually increase its moat around all the other smart contract platforms like Avalanche, Solana, Polkadot, all the other layer ones? I mean, how many programmable blockchains do you need? And what's the the role of, say, Polkadot 3 years from today, if and when Ethereum really can do it all and it, has everybody behind it.
There's a few different trade-offs that you can make, when creating blockchains. And there's a few different ways it can play out. So one way it plays out is like, ETH2 is just this main base layer. All these other scalable chains like basically create layer twos to bridge to Ethereum. And you might say, okay, well, why not just like build on Ethereum, itself, or build on a layer two on Ethereum? And there's some good reasons, right? Like if you look at Solana, to take that as an example, the architecture of it is really suitable to things that require really high throughput and really low cost, like video games. If you look at a lot of the gaming use cases, I could totally see them succeeding on Solana, versus like Ethereum. It may always be 10 times more expensive and 10 times slower than say Solana, but that's perfectly fine for a financial use case, right? Like it doesn't matter to me if I'm doing $1 million trade, whether my trade costs a tenth of a penny or 1/100th of a penny. And it might if I'm doing like some Forex thing, but for most use cases, the security, it being reliable and having 100% uptime matters much more. Versus for a game, if I have like 0.05% downtime and there's like 10 minutes, once a month or whatever frequency it is where my game's offline, like it's not great, but it's not the end of the world. And it's a trade-off that I would totally make as a game developer, because my users will pay such low fees that they won't even notice like that they're paying fees. So I think there's use cases like that where you see some value. The other area is like, if you look at Polkadot's model, it's sort of interesting in the sense that like their model is every large application is going to want their own basically blockchain that can interact with a main kind of layer one. And you might say, okay, why would you want that? There's some interesting reasons, like, if you imagine an application that has like tens of millions of users someday, hopefully we get there. There's definitely like custom changes you would probably want to make to the chain itself versus just purely building straight on Ethereum or something like that. But I don't think you need like 10 layer ones, right? Like there's these 2 to maybe 4 different types of trade-offs. And there's maybe 1 or 2 that I haven't, thought of, or that no one's even thought of yet. But I don't foresee there being like 10 or 20 or that sort of thing.
Yeah, neither do I use the analogy, maybe rightly or wrongly. It's kind of like, how many car brands do you need to have in the world? I mean, clearly there's probably, more than 50 or even more than that. I don't know. They all take you from A to B. The reason there are so many brands is because of, consumer preferences, and, I like one model and you like another model, but it is something that is physical, that, has a design that you can drive, that you can touch, that you can, look at and enjoy. Whereas code, whether it's Solana or Polkadot, I mean, it's kind of difficult to fall in love with code unless you're maybe the weirdo computer scientist. But I would say it's easier to fall in love with a Porsche than it is to fall in love with a piece of code. So that's what I'm saying. Like there probably must be just a handful of programmable blockchains that will persist, and stuff will just run on those, and all the other ones need to give way.
It might be more like the operating system or databases, right? Like operating system wise, there's hundreds of stuff out there, but really there's basically 3 in practice. It's like OS 10, Windows, and Linux, right? And there's a handful of other things. Those are the main ones. And then if you look at like databases, you have like Oracle databases, you have SQL databases, and you have a few other main categories. And then like if you look, there are hundreds of other types that have like, sub 5% market share, right? Like Oracle, SQL, NoSQL, and 1 or 2 others, they have like 95% share of the database market, and it's good enough for 95% of use cases, right? I think that's probably how the layer one landscape shakes out. There's always going to be some like, niche person who wants to run like Gen 2 Linux, and there's probably going to be a blockchain that like, is a similar kind of niche community. But, most people are going to run Windows, OS X or Linux, that sort of thing.
Hey visionaries, thank you for tuning in. For more free crypto content like this, head over to realvision.com/crypto. You'll get early access to the most brilliant minds in the space to cut through the noise, get in-depth analysis, and get you ahead of the curve with unbiased insights.